Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 6, Text number 2. Rishiruvacha Satyamuktam Kintvihava eke Namanasodha Vishrambham Anavasthanasya Shatakirata iva Sangachante. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Shukadev Goswami replied, "My dear king, you have spoken correctly. However, after capturing animals, a cunning hunter does not put faith in them, for they might run away. Similarly, those who are advanced in spiritual life do not put faith in the mind. Indeed, they always remain vigilant and watch the mind's action." Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, "Yagnadana tapah karma natyajyam karyameva tat yagno danam tapaschaiva pavanani manishinam." Acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance are not to be given up, but should be performed. Indeed, sacrifice, charity, and penance purify even the great souls. Even one who has renounced the world and has taken sannyas should not renounce chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Renunciation does not mean that one has to renounce Sankirtana Yajna. Similarly, one should not renounce charity or tapasya, the yoga system for control of the mind and senses, must be strictly followed. Lord Rishabhadeva showed how severe types of tapasya could be performed, and he set an example for all others. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. So this chapter, called the Activities of Lord Rishabhadeva, the previous chapter was called Lord Rishabhadeva's Teachings. So we saw his teachings, and now we are seeing his activities in this chapter. And in the previous verse, if you all recall, Maharaj Parikshit asked, Lord Rishabhadeva, who was playing the role of a typical yogi and practicing yoga and austerities, and he had actually burnt up the karma bijanam avabharjita. He had burnt the seeds of fruitive desires, fruitive activities. And many mystic powers appeared to him, but he did not accept them. Why? It wouldn't have distracted him. It wouldn't have bothered him. Why didn't he accept? That was the question. So for that, Shukadev Goswami is saying, Satyamuktam, what you have said is very true. Rishabhadeva, even if he had accepted those mystic powers, would not have disturbed him. Satyamuktam. Kintu, however, ihava eke, in this material world, these great souls, advanced spiritualists, na manaso adha vishrambham, they don't put their faith in the mind. Vishrambham, trust, confidence, faith. Na manasaha na vishrambham. Why is it? Manasaha anavasthanasya. Because anavasthana, unsteady, flickering, unreliable. So, being unsteady, anavasthanasya manasaha na vishrambham. The mind which is very, very flickering, they do not place their faith and trust in the mind. Shata kirata iva. Kirata, hunter. Shata, clever, cunning. Shata kirata iva, like a cunning hunter. Sangachante. Anavasthanasya manasaha na vishrambham sangachante. They do not place the faith, the confidence in the unsteady mind. That is the important instruction. Srila Shukadeva Goswami replied, Rishir Uvacha, my dear king, you have spoken correctly. Satyamuktam. However, after capturing animals, a cunning hunter, Shata Kirata, does not put faith in them, for they might run away. Shata Kirata also, na vishrambham sangachante. He does not put faith in those animals, for they might run away. Similarly, Iva, those who are advanced in spiritual life do not put faith in the mind. Na manasaha vishrambham. Indeed, they are always vigilant and watchful and watch the mind's action. Anavasthanasya manasaha na vishrambham sangachante. This is a very important instruction for spiritual practitioners like all of us. We learn in spiritual life that we have to control our senses, and the mind is the center of the senses. The mind controls the senses, and this mind is always flickering. The mind, very nicely Rupa Goswami explains this. The flickering nature of the mind comes with a force. Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam, jihva vegam, udara upastha vegam. Prabhupada has nicely explained, vegam, it means a kind of a force. It creates a force in the body. Prabhupada gives the example, just like our body is designed in such a way, when there is a nature's call, it creates a force, irresistible force. We all have to rush to the washroom. See? In the same way, there are other forces in this body, and one of them is the force of the mind. So, here we are as spiritualists, so we must know these workings of the mind, workings of the forces in this body, so that we know how to deal with them. So here, Shukadev Goswami is giving one such example. He's saying, this mind which is unsteady and which comes with a force, don't trust this mind. This is the first instruction. So, Prabhupada explains these things very nicely. As spiritualists, we do not trust our mind, means we do not surrender to the dictations of our mind. The mind comes with a force. Mind comes with an idea. Let's do this. Let's do that. You do this. You do that. And it comes with a certain force too. Don't trust your mind. This is the instruction. Na vishrambham. Anavasthanasya manasaha na vishrambham. Don't trust your mind. And Prabhupada has nicely translated, and watch the mind's action. So in other words, intelligence is higher than the mind. Soul is higher than the intelligence. And we are that soul. So how all these internal dynamics are happening, and we as the soul are watchful. And a very nice example is given here. Shatakirata. A hunter may catch an animal with a lot of effort to catch an animal. And after he catches the animal, will he be negligent? No, he will guard them, he will put them under a net, he will put them under a cage or whatever. He still keeps them under his watchful eye. In the same way, as spiritualists, we should be watchful of the wanderings and the actions of the mind. In other words, these things a spiritualist has to be very sober, introspective, thoughtful, not reckless. So in other words, another quality of a spiritualist, Prabhupada also explains this, is that a spiritualist is grave, gambhira. And Prabhupada explains what is the meaning of gravity. Gravity means you cannot make out the internal working of the mind of a devotee. He is not too eager to express it. He is grave. How he is watching his mind, how he is watching the wanderings of the mind, he is grave. So, the mind comes with various dictations. Look at this wonderful opportunity for enjoyment. Look at this plan. Such a good plan this is. And if you carry out this plan, so much enjoyment you can have. And we see sometimes devotees fall victim to these kind of material plans the mind will come up with. And outside in the material world, the world is full of mental plans and people running after them, chasing those plans with a desperate hope that those plans will make them happy. Sometimes they have plans to make money. Sometimes they have plans to become famous. Sometimes they have plans to become powerful. Sometimes, different kinds of plans people make. All of these are just the wanderings of the wild mind. They don't know these things. And the soul, pursuing the wanderings of the mind, develops more and more material desires and becomes involved in karmic reactions and takes birth, life after life, not even realizing what is going on to me. So, Shastras are helping. Now it's very interesting how Srila Prabhupada explains this a verse from the Bhagavad Gita here. And sometimes, it requires a little bit of careful thinking and reading. Srila Prabhupada, of course, explains. Why is this shloka put here by Srila Prabhupada? Yagna dana tapah karma natyajyam karyameva tat. Yagno dhanam tapaschaiva pavanani manishinam. Krishna is saying one should not give up yagna, dana and tapaha. Yagna, dana, tapah, karma. These three kinds of activities, acts of sacrifice, yagna karma, dana karma, tapah karma, acts of sacrifice, acts of charity, acts of penance. Natyajyam. One should never give it up. Yagna dana tapaschaiva pavanani manishinam. This yagna dana and tapas can pavanani, can purify, can sanctify. Pavana is to sanctify, can purify. Even manishinam pavanani. Even great souls it can purify. You see? So, very, very interesting this one. Yagna, and Krishna has mentioned three things here. Yagna, dana, tapas. Yagna is the primary duty of a brahmachari. Dana is the primary duty of a grihastha. And tapasya is the primary function of a vanaprastha. Yeah, brahmachari is always involved in doing yagna under the guidance of the spiritual master. And grihastha, he may be earning some money, some different kinds, and he should be doing dana. And after leading a household life, at a certain age, the husband and the wife should travel vanaprastha and take austerities in preparation for the final stage of their life. So, tapaha. And these three things should never be given up, Krishna is saying here, because it can purify even great souls. Manishinam pavanani. Even the great souls indeed sacrifice charity and penance, purify even the great souls. What happens is, there is another trick the mind plays. It's all in the context of anavasthanasya manaha na vishrambham. Don't put your faith in this unsteady mind. That's the instruction. So another trick of the mind is, it gives a kind of a confidence to an individual. Now I am advanced and purified. And generally, such people who develop that kind of a confidence, trusting their mind, which is not to be trusted, trusting their mind, they give up acts of sacrifice, charity and penance. So Krishna is saying, no, don't give it up. It can purify even manishinam pavanani. Don't trust the mind. Mind, generally, this is another kind of a working of the mind. It gives us a kind, now I have done so many years sadhana, I am now purified, I am very strong now. Gives a kind of a confidence. And one will slowly become relaxed in their regulative principles. So this happened historically in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sampradaya too. After Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's generation, then there were the 6 Goswamis, and after that there was Shamananda Pandit, Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivas Acharya, all those great souls were there. And after that, gradually, there were many immoral activities came into the practice of, so-called practice of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings, and people strayed away for few generations. So, this kind of things happen. Yoga nashtaha, like Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita. Sometimes this kind of straying away from the real path happens. And later on, Bhaktivedanta Thakur establishes it very strongly. Of course, there were other acharyas, but it had become very, very thin. So, this kind of there is a kind of a practice, a kind of a misunderstanding that sets in a sadhaka because of trusting the mind, and may gradually give up practicing the regulative principles of devotional service in a rigorous way. And so Prabhupada is warning here that one should not do that, because yajna dana tapa karma natyajyam. One should never give up these, because it can purify. And that is why this verse Prabhupada has quoted here, referring to a kind of a confidence, a kind of an understanding the mind develops. Now I am liberated. And Prabhupada gives an example. You see, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, it says, right, the Bhagavatam shloka, Sangopangastra Parshadham. When the Lord appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he didn't bring his astra, gada, chakra, and other kinds of astras that the Lord brings, like Ramachandra came, different astras. His astra, when he comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is his Parshada. Sango Pangastra Parshadam. Parshadam, Parshad means his close associates. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates were his weapons. Through them, he destroys darkness of ignorance of Kali Yuga. So, one of them is Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur, we know the Namacharya, he used to chant 300,000 names every day, very rigidly. So, there was a time, actually Haridas Thakur was a few years older than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Haridas Thakur was in Jagannath Puri and strictly following this vow of chanting 300,000 times every day. And at a certain point, Haridas Thakur became very weak and old. And at that time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him, now you're so old, you're so frail, you can reduce the number of rounds. But Haridas Thakur said, no, I will chant rigidly, sticking to this vow. You see, Even though Haridas Thakur was so old, was very advanced, he was actually a Mukta Purusha, completely freed from the material world. He was on the liberated platform. Still, he was following the regulative principles, not following the dictates of the mind, which will sometimes tell, now that you are a liberated person, you are a purified soul, you don't have to know how important it is to follow the regulative principles. See how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching all this through his Parshada. They are his Astra. There he has brought them from the spiritual world to teach humanity in Kali Yuga. So Haridas Thakur is an example of strictly following, not listening to the wandering, unsteady mind. Similarly, Raghunath Das Goswami, whom we saw, or we are, Hari Bhakta Prabhu promised he is going to show. We'll wait for what he is going to show. So Raghunath Das Goswami showed in his life also high standards of austerity. All great souls, but they stuck to the principles of regulative practices of devotional service and did not give it up, because that's the tendency of an unsteady mind, to give up strict practice of the regulative principles. Now, there is another third example that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu shows, and that was the example of Chota Haridas, Junior Haridas. And Chota Haridas, when he glanced at a woman, lustily glanced at a woman, there was no physical anything. It was just a lustful glance. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected him from his company. He said, he shall not come near me. Prabhupada explains that how strict Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was. And he was very repentant, Chota Haridas. Oh, I made this mistake. And so, there were at that time big devotees, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Ramananda Raya, and Swarup Damodar. They were all very close to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They were considered very exalted. And so they all went and made a recommendation to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that Chota Haridas has made a mistake and he is very repentant about it. Please excuse him and let him come and serve you. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, all right, if you are all saying that, let him come and I will go away from here. Then they said, no, we don't want you to go away from Puri. We want you ought to be here. You see how strict Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a sannyasi, he would not allow women to come close. They had to be from a distance, they can pay obeisance. That was the strictness he maintained. To set an example, don't trust the unsteady mind. Anavasthanasya manasaha na vishrambham. This is the instruction. Now you see, these things are very prominent in our devotional culture of what Prabhupada has taught. This is our value system, isn't it? Don't trust the mind. Mind will come up with ideas. Always consult a senior devotee, an experienced devotee, how I should practice my spiritual life in different circumstances. Because we don't want to trust our mind. Mind will take us away in some other direction. This is the value. This is the value system that Srila Prabhupada has given. Don't trust the mind. And where is this value system coming from? Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadev Goswami's instruction. Na vishrambham. Manasaha na vishrambham. Don't trust the mind. You see, this is one of the nicest things about Srila Prabhupada. The way he has set up Krishna consciousness society, filled with values from the spiritual, from the original texts of the Vedic literatures. Recently, I had one visitor from a Madhva Sampradaya, and he was explaining. In the Madhva, among them, something they consider very high and esteemed is scholarship. So he was telling so-and-so, he is somewhere connected to him. My young fellow must be in his 24 years or so. He has done so many 16 or 14 years of studies in Sanskrit, grammar. He studied all Madhva literatures. And then there was one final examination, and he was describing how the examination happens. There will be about 10 scholars sitting around this student, and all of them will ask different questions. And on one particular grantha that he should have studied very thoroughly, and he must answer them. And some of the Madhva scholars will be there, and some will be pure Sanskrit scholars, and they will ask from all kinds, from different angles, and he has to answer. And this goes on for about 10 hours of rigorous questioning. And he did well, and he passed that. And then whole life they'll be talking about it. He finished this, he did that, 10 hours, this one. So, scholarship is a very high value in their culture. But, look at the values that Srila Prabhupada gave us. One of the things that in our Krishna consciousness culture, one of the things that we aspire, what is it? We don't aspire scholarship, because scholarship is just an intellectual thing. With somebody who is blessed with some good intelligence, yes, we can accept that there is some good intelligence, so no doubt about it, and he has acquired some scholarship in Vedic literature. But what is the most important value we practice in our Krishna consciousness society as Srila Prabhupada has taught? One of the important values is purity. Isn't it? Prabhupada has set this example, and we all want to become pure devotees. Not an easy thing, very tall thing. But at least that's our aspiration. We know that's where we have to go. We haven't gone there. It's very far. But at least we know. And that's what Krishna is saying. Pavanani manishina. Purification. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadhyanavritam. To become free. See how carefully Prabhupada has given us these values, isn't it? In our society, in our culture, we always say, see, this devotee, he's a pure devotee. Of course, we shouldn't make a mistake, because pure devotee is not a small thing. Pure, free from all other kinds of desires. Anya abhilashita shunyam. So purity is one high value that we regard and we want to live by, develop. What is the other important value that Srila Prabhupada taught? Another important value is seva or seva attitude. We always say, see, this devotee is doing a lot of service. He has got a very good attitude to do service. Actually, attitude of service is a very important thing that we have to develop. And this is also coming from the Shastra. Sevon mukho hi jihvadhau swayameva spuratyadaha. Atha Shri Krishna namadhi na bhaved grahyam indriyaihi. You want to understand Krishna, His name, His form, His qualities, His activities. You cannot understand them by your senses, by your mind, by your intelligence. Then how can we understand? Sevon mukha. Seva unmukha. Sevon mukha means that attitude of service. Surprisingly, this verse says, beginning with the tongue. Jihvadau. It begins with the tongue. And Srila Prabhupada has taught that Sevon mukha is opposite of Ishvara mukha. Lording. You see, the service attitude, lording attitude. Because Krishna's position is the Lord and our position is subordinate to the Lord. But in the material world, we are also trying to become the Lord and controllers. So to become free from that and to develop an attitude of service, and it is not just in the attitude in mind. So I have all very good attitude in my mind. No, it should be demonstrated in our activities. Doing service. Sometimes in doing service also we start lording over others. No, doing service in a service attitude, not in a lording attitude. See how Maya comes in different ways, tricks. Manasaha na vishrambham. Don't trust the mind. That is why always devotional service is rendered under the direction and the supervision of another experienced devotee. This principle has to be always practiced. Because sometimes we cannot make out our own mistakes. Whereas a more experienced devotee can see, oh, this is going on wrong. You should correct yourself. So, service attitude is another thing that we value very much, isn't it? So, another important thing that we value in Krishna consciousness is preaching. Yare dekho tare kaho Krishna upadesh. This was also taught by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And preaching actually comes from Jiver Daya, showing compassion to the living entities. So preaching is another value system that Prabhupada has taught. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught that. Krishna teaches that in the Bhagavad Gita. Then another important value that we all practice, taught by Srila Prabhupada. Krishna is the enjoyer, we are not the enjoyers. Whether we are able to practice or not properly is a different thing. That's okay. But at least we know that's the goal. We should not be enjoyers. Aham hi sarvayagnanam bhokta cha prabhureva cha. This is the confidential information given in the 9th chapter of the Gita. Krishna is the enjoyer, not me. Bhoktaram yagna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. We are not the enjoyers. We are always subordinate to Krishna. This culture, you see, for instance, this culture exists in our temple and should always exist in the temple. For example, in our temple we cook. But when we cook, what are we cooking for? We are cooking for Krishna. Everything that we do, this is what Prabhupada has taught us, isn't it? In every action, it should be pleasing to Krishna. Through every action, you try to please Krishna. If somebody is collecting money, he's thinking, I should bring this money and give it to Krishna. So, in all our activities, Krishna is the enjoyer. Krishna should be the enjoyer. That's another value that Prabhupada has taught. So, if these values, Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, I am subordinate. Of course, after cooking, after offering to Krishna, we only take the prasadam. But we take it as prasadam. But the primary enjoyer is Shri Krishna. So, purification, service attitude, preaching, all these, purity, these are all the values that Srila Prabhupada has taught as for our community, for our organization, and we should live by these. And for these things to happen, we should not trust our mind, because the mind is unsteady and cannot be depended on. That is the teaching of the Bhagavatam. Now you see how actually our culture is, we are closer to the Vedic culture, the essence of all the teachings of the Shastra, not just scholarship. One can be a big scholar, may not have the service attitude, may not even have purity. So, very carefully Prabhupada has designed all this and given these instructions, which is very, very special. We'll stop here. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.